you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams come true!
You're listening to the Run GPG Podcast with your boys David Morrell and Corey Prop, where we share actionable steps to help you build and scale your real estate business.
Here's what's coming up on today's show.
First, whether it's law or anything else, I really believe that people should do what they love, because if they don't love it, they're not going to excel at it. If you're doing what you think will make you a lot of money, or you're doing what someone, maybe your parents or others, tell you to do, you're not going to do well at it, because there's other people around you that are going to love it. And when I say love it, the way I love what I do, like, it's not work for me. I don't work and feel like I'm working. It's just a lifestyle. There's no part, I work this many hours and then I go do fun stuff for this many hours. It's all just like one big lifestyle. And so if you don't love what you are pursuing, then you're not going to excel at it. You're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be miserable.
Welcome back to the Run GPG Podcast. Welcome to the COVID-19 edition. Man, has it been an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least. While I'm speaking to you today, we are currently on day 8 of our quarantine. You probably are as well, somewhere in there. What have you been doing on your lockdown? Have you been listening to webinars and podcasts, reading books, binge watching Netflix? I myself have perfected my martini. Yes, my cocktail game is very strong. I'm proud of that. As we mentioned, it has been an interesting couple of weeks. At the GPG, it's been, from this standpoint, business as usual. Most of our training and coaching is done virtually with our mastermind meetings, our agent one-on-ones, our buyer and seller presentation training. And recently, we just added our Thursday watch parties for everyone at the brokerage. So that's been a lot of fun. We grab our popcorn and do some personal development on Thursdays. That's been a real success, a real big hit. And we're looking forward to some coming meetings this week with everyone at the brokerage as well. So from that standpoint, not a lot has changed, but from the day-to-day as it relates to your personal life, yeah, that's changed. So, I just want to note that we recorded this podcast and the next one before the COVID crisis actually hit the country. So, we talked about it. We thought it'd be good to release these next couple of podcasts in short order to kind of break the monotony of the lockdown. And, our listeners had been asking for new episodes. So we have a couple banked. We're going to release them, like we said, over the next week. This one in particular, this one we're about to release here, this is Jasmine Daya. She's a very interesting and dynamic personality that comes through in this interview. She's a lawyer, owns her own law firm. She's an entrepreneur. She's an author. She's also a wife and mother. And she talks about all of that on this podcast. We do have a lot of listeners to this podcast. They've been asking for new episodes. And just stay tuned, because once this COVID crisis did break, our upcoming guests are aware of this, and we're going to be talking how this affects their business, sales, real estate, and all that stuff in the coming weeks. So you're going to want to stay tuned to subsequent episodes after this one and the next one. So that's going to be fun. Would also like to add that this podcast, as always, is brought to you by the Greater Property Group Real Estate Brokerage. Now, if you are a real estate agent or you're a team and you're curious about the Greater Property Group, what we're doing, what we can do to help you grow and scale your business in a changing industry, or maybe you're just looking for a change, or maybe you're at the point where it's time to start your own team, but you don't know where to begin. If that's the case, make sure you reach out for no obligation consultation to get all the deets on the GPG. Simply email info@greaterpropertygroup.com or go to the website, greaterpropertygroup.com, and fill out an inquiry. In the meantime, enjoy the show. Corey, this will be an interesting one. We're going a little outside the norm for typical guest list. I am looking forward to this discussion today, and I think the many listeners of the Run GPG Nation will be excited as well. And I do want to remind you, Corey, be careful what you say today, because we have a lawyer joining us.
I'll be careful.
Corey, be careful. Okay, you don't have to say anything, Corey. That's fine.
He's already nervous.
Yeah, right. I can tell he is already nervous. Now, interestingly enough, for our listeners, it's not just any lawyer. We have a very impressive resume with our guest today, incredible achievements in her pursuit of law and education. We have with us today Jasmine Daya, who is a lawyer and the managing principal of Jasmine Daya and Company. check this out. This is pretty incredible. This is my Coles Notes version of Jasmine's bio. Jasmine graduated Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas in 2001 with a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance and a Bachelor of Science in Economics. She completed the Canadian Securities course in 2004. She also attended Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore and then graduated from Queen's University in 2005 with a Bachelor of Laws. She won numerous awards over that time, including the Reuben Wells Leonard Prize in Business Law, and also completed programs in partnership with Tulane University and my neighbor, McGill University. Jasmine studied at Osgoode Hall, graduating in 2009 with a Master of Laws. If that wasn't enough, she is also a published author, a blogger, a podcaster, and speaker. Jasmine, as I mentioned earlier, you may be too smart for us. Regardless, welcome to the Run GPG Podcast, Jasmine.
Welcome, Jasmine.
I am so flattered by that introduction. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, Jasmine, you and I crossed paths a while ago. We got started when we first met each other, we got talking about investment properties. And then as we got to know each other, our conversation kind of led into branding and marketing, shifted gears. We were talking a little bit about your podcast and your book. And I absolutely love having conversations like this, brainstorming ideas about this subject. But because you know what, no matter what profession you are, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist or you're a lawyer or you're a doctor or you're a real estate agent like us, it doesn't matter. You need to let people know what it is that you do. And you know what, no matter what, if you want to generate business, this is what you have to do. And especially if you're in a competitive space, I know you are and we are, you need to differentiate yourself from others. And this is something that David and I have had lots of discussions about on this podcast. We've interviewed others as well who have talked at length about this. And that's why I'm so excited that you're going to be on the show. You're definitely standing out as someone who differentiates herself and who's unique in your space. And David says this quote many times, and I love it. It's success leaves clues. And we love interviewing successful people. So let's dial this in. Let's get right into it. Thanks again for coming on. So here's my very first question. How do you get your day started? Do you have a daily routine, or what's the Jasmine Daya morning ritual look like?
My first alarm goes off at 5:15 a.m. And I say first alarm because I have a second alarm that goes off at 5:18 a.m. because I'm always scared that I'm not going to get up at 5:15 a.m. And I always let myself have that extra 3 minutes because in my mind, it's, something to savor, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, 5:18, now I'm awake and I better not set a third alarm or my husband is going to be beyond upset because he's already heard 2 alarms. I then reach for my phone on the nightstand and the first thing I have to do is make sure that the world hasn't collapsed, whether the world at large or my personal world. There's no catastrophes, nobody is called in sick, no tenant issues, no school-related issues for my 3 children. So I got to make sure all that's out of the way. Then I need to cruise through my email, see what happened overnight, see if I missed anything, see if I need to address anything. I have to cruise through social media, make sure nobody left any crazy comments that I need to deal with or delete or anything like that, or see any really nice comments that came in that makes me feel really extra happy that morning. Then I cruise through the news and I need to know exactly what's going on in the world around me. It also gives me ideas of what I have to post that day or blog about. Or get more information about. And so I take time to do that every morning, but that's like a solid maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I'm rushing. Now I'm behind schedule every morning. And I got to do the daily routine of, getting clothes, makeup, hair, everything. Admittedly, I'm not done to a T. I also have all the stuff I need at my office because it's still usually dark out, unless it's summertime, but it's still usually dark out, so I'm not totally done up. And I get to the office. Now, most people I talk to that sort of live a similar life as myself, they go to the gym in the morning. I cannot do it. I can't do it. I have so much in my head that, and I do go to the gym, by the way, okay, but I do it at night when my head is not working, but my body is still working. That's my gym time. Because at that point, I can't focus on anything. So I can go to the gym then and make my body move around. But in the morning, I absolutely can't go to the gym. Nothing would give me greater anxiety than that because there's so many ideas in my head that I need to translate. I need to get those thoughts into something, whether it's on the computer or handwritten notes or something. So I'm like rushing like a crazy person. I stop at Tim Hortons to get my coffee. Some people make fun of me for that. I think I mentioned this to you actually when we met. Like some people make fun of me. I like Tim Hortons, okay? So leave me alone. I like it.
Gross. That's gross.
Yeah. Okay, Montreal boy. I know. I hear you. So I like my Chimmy's and I get my small coffee and then I'm cruising to the office and I've got to translate those ideas. And then my day has really started.
You know, you said something that's interesting. You know, we've talked to a few entrepreneurs that say they actually put out fires early in the morning, which it sounds like you do. It's a commonality.
Oh no, I have to. I have to because
first thing in the morning.
If I have gone through that whole routine and get to the office without realizing something significant, it could ruin the entire day or worse. Like if someone calls in sick, I need to start contacting people to fill in for them. Or if there's a tenant issue, I have real estate, and this is the first interview, by the way, where I'm opening up about my real estate. But I do own real estate in different cities, and you know, I can't go to some of those places myself. So if there's a significant issue that's occurred overnight, because my ringer's always off, that's another thing about me that I'll talk about in a sec, but I need to be able to address it. Like if there's a roof leak in one of my Kingston properties, I need to get someone on it. I can't go deal with that. Kingston is 2.5 hours away from Toronto, which is where I'm based out of. So those are the things that I absolutely need to deal with. I can't waste time on that. So you're right. I need to put out fires. And what I was saying about my ringer, so my ringer is off 24/7. And the reason is because it would be beeping like, I don't know, every millisecond. It would just be on with everything that I'm involved in, and it would drive everyone crazy. But more than driving everyone else crazy, during the day, I'm with clients and I can't have my ringer on, or I'm in court. I can't have my ringer on. And through the night, I actually need to sleep. During time with my husband, he would maybe, I don't know, do something terrible to my phone. So yeah, it's just always off. It is. And the only way I turn it on is if I have a scheduled call, then I'm going to turn the ringer on because I know I'm expecting something and I don't want to miss it.
The one thing you could miss is probably the coffee from Tim Hortons. However, I do want to ask you about the reason why we're talking, your backstory. How did you get started on the path you're on now, currently? Like, what was the catalyst that got you into the law profession?
I watched this movie called My Cousin Vinny when I was 12 years old.
Oh my God! You know what? Yes, hold it. It's a great movie. Now, you know what's funny? As you're talking, I'm thinking in my head, what are her favorite movies about being a lawyer? Like, I actually was thinking this. I was going to ask you, and you brought it up. The synergy is amazing, Jasmine.
Oh my God,
keep
movie,
going.
I still love that movie. Like, it still makes me laugh. You know, the Gallo, Callo, Tallow, whatever his last name he's trying to make up, and his girlfriend being the tire expert, like putting her on the stand with all her clothing. Like, I just love that movie. Like, I couldn't get enough of it, and I was 12 when it came out. But it seemed like that was the first sort of foray into legal drama that I liked, and then it kept continuing. Like, I loved all these shows. I love Suits. Like, I when I work late at night, I put Suits on. One of the reasons is because my cable's not working, so I have to Chromecast and I watch Netflix. But I feel like if they're working late, I can work late. Except they always have drinks, and I'm not sipping on a vodka soda like in the office and trying to practice law, but I don't know, they seem to get that down somehow. But anyway, yeah, I liked all these legal dramas, and I told my parents I wanted to be a lawyer. And this was, again, around 12 years old. And my parents said, they looked at me horrified, like just horrified. So this is early 90s. And they looked at me like, are you crazy? That is not what we want for our daughter. My father thought lawyers were bottom feeders. He thought they were ambulance chasers.
What was your dad expecting? A lawyer's like pretty respectable though, like in terms of like profession. Like what?
Oh, let me continue. I've just gotten started here. Okay, so lawyers were a dime a dozen. Kind of true. Lawyers were ambulance chasers. I'm a personal injury lawyer. Of all areas of law, I chose the true ambulance chaser. And then, he thought they were bottom feeders. And I am not. Maybe there are some, no comment beyond that. My mom, she thought lawyers were very arrogant. And she also thought, she looked at me, especially through my teenage years and to this day, and she just could not understand in her head how someone who enjoyed life as much as me would spend her days in a library studying. So she wasn't so sure that I would succeed on that path, and she wanted something bigger and better for me, bigger and better in the sense that I would help people in the world, needy people in the world. She wanted me to be a doctor. And I said to my mom, there's no way I'm going to be a doctor. I want to wear a skirt and heels to work. And she looked at me with, more shock, like, skirt and heels? What does that? You should be standing on a street corner, So a little concern there from my parents. But anyway, fast forward, I, in high school, took all these science courses so my mother would stop irritating me. And I also took economics and finance, which came to me very easily. And I will backtrack just a little bit. We lived in the suburbs, and I went to a girls' school in downtown Toronto. And there was no public transit back then in the suburb that we lived in. There is now. So my father would drop me to school every day. And that has really laid the foundation for what happened in my life, because that was our time together. He taught me at 12, 13, 14 years old. He taught me about financial statements. I knew about balance sheets. I knew about income statements, cash flow statements, the stock market. And this is a time when we didn't have the internet. I know it's shocking. I don't feel that old, okay? But we didn't have the internet. Like, you couldn't just Google, what is a balance sheet? What is the stock market? You couldn't do that. So it had to come from someone, or it had to come from reading. And it's not like I was going to go pull a book from the library shelf on, the stock market at 13 years old. So he gave me, the best education. And I don't know why he did it. Like, I don't know if he says I showed an interest, and he enjoys talking about that, and he's an investor. So I don't know if he was trying to teach me or if it passed the time, because it would take a solid 30, 40 minutes to get to school. So he did that. And then when I took these courses in high school, economics and finance, they came to me so easily, and I really enjoyed them. I got A's easily, but I just assumed everyone got A's easily in those courses. But then I realized, yeah, I just assumed, I don't know, like, because I was not getting A's in all those science classes, like biology, chemistry, physics. No, far from it. I was struggling for the B. Okay, struggling. So yeah, anyway, I then decided, forget what my mother wants. I did this course at Johns Hopkins pre-college program, and I did it in a pre-med program. It was after high school, before undergrad. And thank goodness I did that, because I did listen to these courses. Introduction to Anthropology, an Introduction to Biological Macromolecules. Fascinating stuff, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's edge of my seat.
I was like, I'm not doing this. There's no way. I am not doing this. And I'd have to wear scrubs every day to work. No, this is not happening. So I then decided to major in economics, and later learned about finance. Did that for undergrad. Planned on being on Wall Street in New York. That was the plan. But I graduated right after September 11th. And the problem with that is I couldn't secure my visa to stay in the US. And I graduated a semester early, so it was December, and September was obviously just a couple months before. So I decided in October to write the LSAT. I'd already, as you heard earlier with my cousin Vinny, I'd already been thinking about law, wrote the LSAT, and decided that's it. I'm going to law school and I'm moving back to Canada. And I became a very proud Canadian at that point. Never looked back.
I like it. That's well, that's quite the explanation of how you got into law. I was expecting something incredibly profound, but it all came down
sorry.
to, it all came, no, Jasmine, this is amazing. This is why we do this. This is amazing. It all came down to My Cousin Vinny. My favorite part of that movie was when the train wakes him up in the middle of the night and he freaks out. That was my favorite part.
And then when he's in jail and then he can sleep perfectly. How about that?
That was good.
I know all we're gonna do is talk about my cousin Vinny, right?
Well, when he's arguing with the judge, and he's like, the next words out of your mouth aren't guilty or not guilty. I'm holding you in contempt of court. And he said, I think I get the point. Remember that?
Yeah, of course. The suits. How about all the suits? His like clown, his circus suits or whatever. He comes to court and you said amazing. Cloth. This is cloth.
There's nobody like Joe Pesci. Nobody like Joe Pesci.
Yeah, that's an incredible backstory for sure.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Wonderful. Along your way, obviously, Jasmine, you must have made mistakes. I know I'm probably the king of mistakes in my career. But before I ask about that, there's two quotes I just want to say that I absolutely thought were fantastic. So one is, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. And that's Thomas Edison. Love that quote. And here's a fantastic quote too. Pain is temporary. Quitting lasts forever. Lance Armstrong. Brilliant quote. So the reason I brought those up is we all make mistakes, but the only, the good thing about it is if we learn from them, we can launch and continue on. So, have you made any along the way?
I've not actually made mistakes, and I'll tell you why. It is not because I am perfect. I am not perfect. My family, my kids, my husband, my parents will tell you that I am not perfect, contrary to what I may believe at times. The reason I have not made mistakes as an adult in my career is because I believe that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Yeah. So whatever comes my way, even though in the moment it may make me reach for the potato chips and open a bottle of wine, it is a temporary state. I then, after enjoying that and, maybe at times feeling really down on myself, I will have an epiphany and I will figure out how to make that situation work for me, how to turn it around. Because I can't accept as an adult in my career with all the projects that I am working on, I cannot accept wasting time. I do not have time to waste. There are too many things I want to do. So when something happens that is it's just not working, some would call it a mistake, but I'm going to make lemonade.
Brilliant. Love it. No regrets.
I don't like that answer. I don't like that answer at all, Jasmine. I don't like it. I don't like it. We were thinking there was going to be some profound setback you had. That's okay. As well, too, that was a pretty elaborate setup on that question, Corey. I'm glad you clarified because I thought you were having a separate podcast, but you haven't. No, I am glad you clarified. But anyways, listener question, Jasmine, listener question. You may get this question a lot, and I'm glad it was from one of our Run GPG ladies who asked this question. But she's asking, are there additional challenges to being a woman who pursued Let me start over. Are there additional challenges being a woman who pursued a career in law and started your own firm? Did you even notice any? Were there any, challenges to that? Asking for a Run GPG lady.
There are so many challenges, but I don't know if the challenge is because I'm female or because I am Indian or because I have a youthful appearance and it's my age, because I'm not actually in my 20s, but I think that people look at me and assume I'm younger than I am. And so how much can I possibly know? Or it could just be my personality. And, I have a very, I think, positive personality, and maybe at times, aren't as serious as some of my colleagues. And so people can read into that. And therefore, I don't know if the challenges that have come my way are solely because I'm female or a combination of any of the factors that I've just listed. But yeah, there are challenges. But I look at it like this. If I was a male or a white male, I might have challenges too. I have nothing to differentiate myself amongst the crowd. I don't know. So, I try to look at other things. And I really believe that for me, what's worked is to focus less on what other people are doing and what other people are thinking, and to focus more on what I am doing and what I am thinking and my business and my pursuit of happiness and my ambition, basically on me. Because if I'm thinking about everyone else, I'm not thinking about me and I'm not thinking about my business. So are there challenges? Absolutely. Is it solely because I'm a woman? I don't think so. I think it's a combination of factors. But are there more challenges as a woman? Probably. I'm just not focused on them.
That's a great answer.
It is.
Unlike the last answer that you avoided like a lawyer. But that's a great answer. My partner is Indian. I don't know if you know. Well, part Indian. And I said something.
What is part Indian? Now you have to define what you mean. What do you mean? Half?
His last name is Singh, and his father was Indian. His mother is white. I asked a very profound question of an Indian the other day. I said, I've just discovered turmeric. Have you heard of it?
Oh my goodness. Do you know that turmeric has huge healing powers, by the way?
I know. That's why I wanted to talk about it with an Indian. And I asked him about it, and I got laughed out of the bar because I just asked an Indian if he heard of turmeric anyway.
Yeah. Like, where have you been? Basically, your entire life. Where have you been? Let me tell you, best remedy. Okay, you feel that tickle in your throat like you're getting sick. You take a shot of warm water.
I know.
You put some turmeric in there, and you put a drop of honey because you need to make it palatable, and you down it, and you're going to be good to go. No cold is coming your way.
Hold on, you cut out because we had a glitch in the Montreal Wi-Fi system here.
Okay.
What did you say? What was the elixir?
Okay, the recipe?
No, do you want to know? I didn't hear your recipe. I didn't hear it. I'm going to tell you what mine is. It was apple cider vinegar with turmeric.
Oh, but I couldn't even.
That's what I have with cayenne pepper. What was your recipe?
Okay, so I drank warm water, turmeric as much as I can handle, like a teaspoon if I can handle it. And I put in a few drops of honey because I have to make it palatable, stir it around and down that. And there's no cold coming. Like, you're going to be good to go.
Or you could just go to Tim Hortons for the same thing.
They don't have turmeric, okay? Do you know what turmeric is? You said you did.
Yeah, I buy it all the time. But
they don't have it at Tim Hortons, mister.
No, but I'm just saying that your concoction sounds just as awful.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got that. I was avoiding that part.
Corey?
So this is my steal it from Tim Ferriss question. If you can have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why?
Okay, I'm a personal injury lawyer, so I'm just wondering what makes you think that I don't have a gigantic billboard somewhere?
Oh. Yes, maybe you do. I didn't know.
Maybe
that.
I do. It would say, "Have you been injured?" ? Because that's so original. No, I do not have a gigantic billboard somewhere because I choose to market myself in different ways that match me and my personality and my business style. However, in answer to your question, it would say, pursue your passion.
Beautiful. I'll tell you what mine would say. Do you want to know, David and Jasmine? Do you want to know what mine would say?
Not really. Let's move on to the next question. You want to tell us anyway. I do. I'm going to tell you. And I didn't. Okay. And I did not. This is not my quote, but I think it's fabulous. You tell me if you know who said this. Your time is limited, so do not waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. Do you know who said that? Cardi B.
No. Stephen Jobs.
Oh.
How about that?
AKA Steve Jobs? Amazing.
Jobs.
That's a lot to fit on a billboard, though, and nobody's reading that.
I know.
It's got to be punchy.
Going 60
It's got to be
miles
like,
an hour.
I think 3 to 5 words or something.
It does. Choose again. I'll say that again. Choose again. Okay.
Man, you really thought about this billboard, Corey.
I did.
Here's a question, Jasmine. What's one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? Could be money, time, energy, or investment in yourself. Can you think of the best investment you ever made?
Okay. I've thought about this question, and it brought up this feeling of irritation, and I'll tell you why. Because it reminded me of the one thing that I cannot buy that I need more of so badly. Do you know what the answer is?
Turmeric.
4-letter word. Starts with T. It does start with T.
It does start with T. It is called time. I cannot buy more time. And I actually need to sleep, because without sleep, I can't word find. And as a litigation lawyer, that's hugely problematic. Like, I'll be standing there and I'm just kind of mid-sentence stuck, can't find the word. So I actually do need to sleep, contrary to what...
She's getting a phone call.
It's one of my children. I just declined them. They were trying to FaceTime me. So yeah, I actually need to sleep, contrary to what people believe. And then I also need to shower. Some of my best thoughts are in my nightly super hot shower. I just sort of stand there and all the thoughts are going through my mind. And you leave some time for hygiene. And so I'm out of time. So I would say that what's most important in my life is making the right investment of time. And what I mean by that is I have to prioritize exactly what I'm doing and when. Every minute of every day is basically scheduled in my life. I have a color-coded calendar that I abide by. I have a rule, and this is not just at work, it's at home too. My kids know. They send me calendar invites for their, like, I don't know, school plays and stuff. If it's not in my calendar, it does not exist. Because that is how I get everything done. I have to know that when TD Bank opens at 8:30, which I love, by the way, I can go and make a deposit because I'm buying a property and there has to be money in this account. And then I'm going to head to court for the 9:30 a.m. start time. And then after court, I'm going to rush to my kids' swim meet to watch her win, because she's very good. And then from there, I got to go back to the office because I got to meet an associate and give him directions on a motion that needs to get filed, and then go home, make dinner, and then I've got a meeting at night, and it has to flow. And the only way that can flow is if it's in my calendar. And if it's not in my calendar, it does not exist. So the best investment that I have made is time, using time wisely, and trying to get everything done. I also have one other rule, which is when I get home, do not sit on the sofa. If I sit on that sofa, my very cozy sofa, I'm not moving. So there are some nights where the Raps are playing. As I said, I'm from Toronto. I got to watch the Raptors. I'm a huge fan. And if they're playing and we're going to make it a family night to watch, then I'm going to sit on that sofa, watch the Raps, and make popcorn. And that's it. There's nothing else happening.
You got to make time for that too, you know.
I do have scheduled time. I do actually believe that on the weekends, I give myself a couple of hours, like once a week, to do nothing, do absolutely nothing. And by absolutely nothing, I mean I will watch a movie or I will do something that is just for me.
What advice would you give a smart, driven college student or entrepreneur who wants to enter the real world? You know, what advice would you give them if they're thinking about pursuing a career in law?
First, whether it's law or anything else, I really believe that people should do what they love, because if they don't love it, they're not going to excel at it. If you're doing what you think will make you a lot of money, or you're doing what someone, maybe your parents or others, tell you to do, you're not going to do well at it, because there's other people around you that are going to love it. And when I say love it, the way I love what I do, like, it's not work for me. I don't work and feel like I'm working. It's just a lifestyle. There's no part, I work this many hours and then I go do fun stuff for this many hours. It's all just like one big lifestyle. And so if you don't love what you are pursuing, then you're not going to excel at it. You're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be miserable. So that is the first piece of advice. The second thing is, I look at where I was when I first started. So I was articling in 2005, And articling is what you have to do in Ontario before you can actually get called to the bar and become a lawyer. So it's 10 months after you graduate law school and before you get called to the bar and become a lawyer. And I was working really hard for a variety of reasons. One, I didn't understand what the hell we were doing, so I needed to figure that out very quickly. But two, I was working for an old school lawyer who had this sink or swim approach, and I was determined to at least tread water. So, I had no choice but to work as hard as I was working. But so many people kept telling me, go easy. You're going to burn out. You're going to burn out. People keep saying that to me. Don't work so hard. You're going to burn out. And I hate that. I hate that everyone is, I guess it's because they care, but they don't know me and they don't know what I'm working on, and they don't know that I actually have a lot of fun in my life. Like, I still go out once a week with my girlfriends and laugh about nothing and get up to no good, and then laugh about it the entire next day, whether I'm at court, with my phone under the table texting about whatever stupidity was said the night before. So I still am having a lot of fun in my life to balance out the crazy hours I work. So when people are trying to give you advice, I wouldn't always take it at face value and worry more about you. Know you. If you feel like you're going to burn out, that's very different than someone else saying, take it easy, you're going to burn out. Work as many hours as you need to work to get to where you want to be.
That's a good answer. That was the correct answer.
In your own words, that's just what Steve Jobs just said in his quote when I said, hey, very similar.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I don't think he's hiding his phone under the table and laughing about nothing.
No, but he says, don't be trapped by dogma. So when somebody's saying to you, only work a limited amount, but you enjoy work, so you're doing your own thing. I think that's pretty cool.
No, actually, what you said though is profound though. It is. Do what you love, and it doesn't seem like you're working, right? It really doesn't. If you're growing a company or you're growing, your brand or whatever it is, I mean, it doesn't seem like work. So you work as long as it is, as much as necessary to get to your end game. It's true, and it's going to seem like work if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah. So Jasmine, when you're feeling overwhelmed or unfocused, or you've lost focus temporarily, what do you do?
So I don't really lose focus, but what happens to me is I don't have enough ideas, and that makes me crazy. So last Christmas time is a good example. I closed the biggest commercial deal of my life on November 1st, and I'd been working on that deal since July. And so from July till November, I was doing everything I could to get this deal done. And a big part of the problem was the financing and the creative financing, because I don't just own real estate, but I also have a law firm. And banks, one, they don't like contingency fee personal injury law firms as a business, generally speaking, because they're like, well, what if you don't settle all these files? How are you going to get paid? I'm like, I'm going to settle all these files. I'm going to get paid. And this goes back and forth, back and forth. Like, it's not like a different type of practice. And then when it comes to real estate, as an individual, once you hit a certain number of properties, they don't want to lend to you. They don't lend to you. And so that was a problem for me on that side of things. And then, people meet me and look at me, and I don't fit the stereotypical image of whatever it is they have in their head of what I should look like or sound like. And so that's also a problem for me. And so, I've been doing everything I could, had banks shut the door in my face. I'm not embarrassed to say that, because I knew that I could handle what I was buying. I just needed someone to believe that I could handle it, and they didn't, even though I know I could handle it, and I am handling it, and I will handle it. But that's what was happening. So anyway, getting back to the story, July to November, I did everything I could. And while I'm trying to do everything I could, satisfying the banks, trying to get financing, getting the deal done in every which way, dealing with my real estate agents and the banks and the brokers and the insurance issues, dealing with all of that, I'm still trying to deal with my law firm. I still have hundreds of clients that I want to serve properly as a lawyer. I don't want one client to feel like I didn't give them the time they needed. I also have the 3 kids that I have to deal with, who I shouldn't say I have to deal with them. I love them. So, I want to make sure that they are also getting my attention. And then my husband, who also needs a little bit of attention, I recognize because he tells me. So, I was pulled in every possible way. The deal closes and I can't even breathe. I can't even relax because September to Christmas time is the busiest time for a litigation law firm. We kind of followed the academic calendar. It was also the busiest time of year for my children. And then we get into right after the deal closes, I've got holiday parties. And holiday parties are not just important because they're fun, but they are a really important form of networking. And I tell this to people. They think I'm just saying that because I want to party. I'm like, no, I want to party, but I also want to network. And I'm not losing one opportunity for one deal that I could close on or one client that I could gain by not going to that event. So we have the holiday parties for school, and we have the holiday parties with my friends. We have the holiday parties for the law firm, and I have the holiday parties with my real estate side of things, and all of that and everything else I just mentioned. It came to December where, I'm still doing it all, but I had no creative energy. I had no new ideas. And I started self-hating. So this is what I do to myself. I'm like, I am a failure. I'm going nowhere. I have no future plan. I have no path. What is going to become of me? And I can't say this to anyone because people just look at me like I'm crazy because of everything that I have going on and all my accomplishments.
Listen, just to interrupt you, the Run GPG Nation is a safe space. You can say it here. The listeners will understand, and you will endear yourself to our listeners and subscribers.
Okay,
really well.
Taking your word for that on that, because I don't want any hate mail come tomorrow.
You won't. You won't. The only hate mail you're getting is from your, your grade 5 swim team, party decline, or maybe you have the FOMO because you did actually say no to their party.
Yeah, well, I never say no. That's another rule. What are you talking about? I'm going to go to that party after we're done right here. I never say no. Never lose an opportunity ever.
That's true.
So I was out of these creative ideas and started self-hating. And then I do something at Christmas that I don't do the rest of the year, which is for a few days, I shut down the firm because we're allowed to be shut down, and I leave with my family. And that is, Christmas Eve, half day, and Christmas and Boxing Day. The firm is closed, but I also take a couple extra days. So I'm usually gone about 5 days, and my kids are off school, and I go with my parents, as well as my husband, of course. So all of us go. And we were in Miami, and I can't tell you how much I needed that time. I needed time to rest, recharge, re-energize, reinvigorate, all of that. And as much as I love Miami and I love going out and I love doing everything that Miami has to offer, and I would go there with every chance, I have a sunshine and palm tree obsession. This trip was different. I was in bed by 10:30 every night. And that is not, it's not like me at all. Like I'm usually a night person. I like going out. I like the nightlife. But no, I was asleep every night, 10:30. I needed that time. And I needed that time with my family. I needed to be grounded. I needed to just feel love and give love and appreciate. Also at that time of year, it's a great time to reflect on accomplishments and appreciate everyone around you that helped you achieve those accomplishments, which is what I needed to do. I needed time to reflect on all of that, because you don't get to where you are without the help of others. You don't succeed without the help of others. I did not buy the building that my firm is now located in without a whole group of people rallying against me and making the deal happen. So that time away really helped, because I came back, and I always come back before New Year's, because I want a couple of days when the office is still quiet so I can get ahead before the craziness starts in the new year. So it was in those couple of days when, I got ahead at the office, but I also started going online and figuring out my next move. And that's actually how I met Corey, because I realized that my next investment is going to be in Calgary. So that's what happened. My creative energy started flowing again after the R&R in Miami with my family.
Excellent.
Did you know you were a piece of that, Corey? Did you know?
I didn't. I do now. Thank you. I feel honored, actually.
Yeah.
You know, David's going to correct me on this, but I know what he does to recharge. He likes going into an ice bath. Am I right, David?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I do.
An ice bath?
Yeah, I do an ice bath all the time. Yeah, it's good for
Have you seen those people that like once a year go into the freezing lake or whatever? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you should do it every day, though. It's good for you.
I prefer the hot shower at night.
That's not good for you. That's not good for you. No, honestly, you should look into it. Cold showers and ice baths and things like that. They're really good for you. It's the fight or flight. It's fight or flight. It's mental, but it's also, it reduces inflammation, does a lot of good things for you. That's the personal development side, which I think we're getting into. Correct, Corey?
Yeah. That was actually fantastic. Well, I wanted to ask you, you kind of already answered this question, but what app or piece of technology can you not live without?
iPhone. Obsessed with my iPhone. I need my iPhone. I cannot live without it because I do everything on this phone. And people are wondering what I'm doing on this phone all the time. I'm working. I'm like very rarely doing anything but working off of it. And I can do everything. Like I even have a tiny scanner, which has been great when I'm trapped somewhere. I have used my tiny scanner for agreements of purchase and sale. When I was in Italy, I closed a deal and we could not get the fax line to work. And the villa I was at did not have a scanner. So I happened to learn from one of the other people that was in this villa, who is a real estate agent in Toronto. He showed me this app. He's like, oh, you don't have the tiny scanner? I'm like, what is the tiny scanner? I need the tiny scanner. So now that app is on my phone. But yeah, I bought a property with that. So
I thought a tiny scanner was for small people. It's actually like...
It's an app. It's the name of an app.
I know.
I'm glad I have informed you and enlightened you on an app.
I'm kidding. I have the same app.
Yeah. Sure you do. Now you do. You probably
No. Actually, the one I have is Genius Scan, though. It's the same.
I have that one too.
Same thing. Genius Scan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it does the
Maybe
same.
I need to get that one. But yeah, the iPhone's like, it does everything for me. And, I could go on and on with all my apps. My kids keep looking at my phone. They're like, why do you have so many apps? I'm like, I need all these apps. I need all these apps. But it's fantastic. And before this, I was a BlackBerry user. I was one of the diehards. Like, I was not going to give up the keyboard. How could you type without a keyboard? That was my whole issue. And I was like the last person at my former law firm that had 13 lawyers, was the last person to make the switch to the iPhone.
There was something about the BlackBerry. I agree with you. There was just something about the BlackBerry Curve was amazing. I don't know what it was. It was such a good, obviously you can't watch videos on it like you can with the iPhone and everything else, but there was something.
You can't do anything with it, actually.
Yeah, well, okay. But something about email on a BlackBerry was amazing. Like the email.
Yeah, the keyboard.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It's true. Yeah, we run a whole company off of this. It's amazing. It is true. I mean, what did we do before the iPhone? I can't even, we talked about the BlackBerry briefly, but, it's amazing what we're dependent on now.
Oh, I know. My husband calls my iPhone an extension of my arm.
Well, eventually it's just going to be fused into us somehow. We're going to have a chip in us. We're going to, there's all these things like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is working on, I don't know if guys know this, but Elon Musk is working on something where they actually connects to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The interface connects with your brain somehow.
It does,
so you can say, look here, and it moves the page there and all that kind of stuff. Like real creepy AI stuff.
Ray Kurzweil stuff.
Yeah. Anyways, moving along.
You kind of answered this too along the way, but what is it that you really enjoy about what you do?
Well, it depends which aspect of what I do you're talking about. But, my main career is a lawyer. I am a lawyer first. And the clients I serve, people can say what they want to say about personal injury lawyers. They don't know me, and they don't know how much I care about what I do. I serve real people, and they come to me in their greatest time of need. I was mentioning that some of my areas of practice are not traditional areas of personal injury. And what I mean by that is I have a lot of claims where I represent young children who have been either victims of bullying or injured. And these are horrific cases. These are cases where, you'll have a knot forming in your throat, holding back tears when they tell you about their stories. I also do cases involving nursing home negligence. And, those cases are also going to give you that same sad feeling where you just can't believe that we are treating elders in this manner, that our communities are letting elders be treated in this manner. I also do club assaults claims, so claims involving bouncers and assaults that occur. And I love those claims because I love the nightlife, as I've mentioned, and I don't think that there should be bouncers like that. So it's my way of cleaning up the city, getting rid of those cases, those individuals, I should say. But I do serve real people. So practicing law, I love what I do. I wake up every morning really proud to do what I do and excited to serve my clients. In terms of the real estate, I love that too. I invest in real estate and I love watching the trends in real estate. I love seeing what's happening and what's causing what's happening to happen, watching the real estate market go up and down, predicting. My father's been predicting for the last decade or more that there's a bubble. I'm like, okay, Dad, like, can you give it up? Can you, like, every day, every year, he's like, there's a bubble in Toronto. I'm like, can we please stop talking about the bubble in Toronto? I'm doing pretty well in Toronto. Thank you. So drives me a little crazy on that front. But my father and I really share that passion. It's something we discuss a lot about. And also with my first commercial buy, I learned so much. And I've met through the real estate side of things so many incredible people. My real estate, as I said, is in different cities. And I'm branching out in Canada, not just in Ontario anymore. And I've met so many incredible people. And that is not just agents. Agents are fantastic, but also the brokers that I've come to meet. I get to meet appraisers. I get to meet lawyers in different cities, like a whole network of people that I wouldn't otherwise get to meet. And I love that. I love meeting new people and hearing their stories and learning from them and growing from them.
You're also an author. Please tell us about your book. What is that all about?
Let's go into I have cookbooks. So I've got JD in the Kitchen is a lifestyle blog where I give tips and advice on busy professionals on how to balance making meals for your families with having a career. Because for me, I, generally speaking, leave the office in time to have dinner with my family. That works for me. That's my time with my kids. And I have a rule of no phone at the dinner table. Believe it or not, but I feel that for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, we can all be without our devices, and that's sort of, I guess, the one really traditional thing about me. But we have dinner as a family most nights, unless there's something unavoidable. But all my meetings are booked after dinner. So anyone that's scheduling a meeting with me is meeting with me 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I'll go and meet with them after, because my kids are usually, in bed by that point, or having a shower, or doing homework or whatever. So they're not missing me. I'm not missing them. They're good. I've seen them. And that's the website component. But I also have JD in the Kitchen, which is a cookbook series. And so I've published Appetizers and Chutneys, which is the first book. The second book is Tea Time Snacks. The third book, which just went live online, is Sweet Snacks, which are really yummy and delicious things that will make you maybe a little bit larger in the midsection. Lots of butter and sugar in all those recipes. But those are Indian cookbooks, and those cookbooks are really special to me because I've tested those recipes and come up with that collection with my mom. And that's been our time together over the last couple of years, where we are testing, and that is time where we would never have had if we were not embarking on this project together. So that's been a collaboration with her. My other book that you had mentioned was Law Girls Bump in the Road, which is also very dear to my heart because I started writing that book when I was pregnant with my son. My son is now 14. I started writing it when I was pregnant because I found myself pregnant in my last year of law school, which is a big faux pas. You don't do that. And it was not really part of my plan. I was also that person that said, who gets pregnant by accident? How does that happen? Well, it happened. And so 14 years later, I have my son. But I was pregnant during the summer between when you finish law school and when you start articling. And my friends were having the time of their life. They were out there enjoying their last summer of freedom, patios, drinks, everything. And I was large, pregnant, uncomfortable, and very scared about my future and sort of hiding at home because I was so uncomfortable. And I was physically uncomfortable, but I was also psychologically uncomfortable with the fact that I was pregnant and everyone must be staring at me because I'm this unplaced lawyer. Of course, no one was probably looking at me or cared, but in my head, everyone must be looking at me, looking at what has she done. So I started writing because back then also, again, not to age myself, but we just got high speed. Like I had the blue Ethernet cord. There was no Netflix. There was nothing. I had cable, and even cable, I had very few channels. What was I supposed to do all day with myself, with my big, pregnant, uncomfortable self who was scared for my future? So I started writing and I started chronicling things that happened that were entertaining to me in my own mind about pregnancy and different things people were telling me. When you're pregnant, everyone wants to give you advice. I don't know why. Everyone wants to tell you, don't do this and do this and don't do that. And the worst is ethnic traditions, whether you're Indian or otherwise. Every ethnic group has their own beliefs. Let me tell you, don't stare at a mirror too long or your baby will be vain. Okay. Because, I don't even know how that would work, but these crazy old wives' tales. So I started chronicling all this. And at the end, a few weeks before my son was born, I looked at what I'd written, this sort of journal, and realized that, and it was really just to keep my sanity during this period of time, but I realized this needs to be a book one day. And fast forward, I had a divorce and I had I had another person I married, and I had 2 more children, and I went from articling student to associate to partner. So all of this happened, life happens. And then I had a little bit of time to make that journal a book. And there you have it. That's Law Girl's Bump in the Road.
Man, that is really interesting. That is a really cool, story. Yeah, it is a cool story because, sometimes I think people get busy with their careers or what they're doing and then children come later, but when you have them early on, you learn to balance work and life and family and friends and everything else right from the beginning,
That's right, because you have no choice.
You have no choice. And I think there's something about, I had kids at a young age. I was 10. It's funny because you grow into your adulthood, in a weird way, with children. So it almost forces you to, man up early, right? So
That's
it
right.
does. Right. And as you're pursuing careers and entrepreneurship and other things, it's amazing what kids can do for you. In an interesting way, kids make you take your life and your career choices and all that stuff more seriously earlier. If you have kids.
That's right. It makes it forces you to grow up. It forces you to be more resilient, especially when in my situation, it wasn't part of the plan. Everything else in my life was planned. But I think that it forces you to just grow up quickly, become more resilient, and figure out, are you just gonna fail in life, or are you gonna make it work? And you don't have a choice. So many people ask me, how did you raise a child and practice law? I'm like, what do you mean? You just do it. You don't think about how do I do it. You just do it, because the alternative is failure, and failure is not an option.
I love that. Okay, this question, Jasmine, you're gonna really like this question. This is where we really get to know you. We get to know you a little bit deeper. You got to put some thought into this. If you could have dinner with any 3 people in history, past or present, who would they be and why?
Do you know who the notorious RBG is? Test question.
RBG?
Yes. I know who you're thinking of. This is another notorious.
There's only one notorious anything. That's
it's RBG. Maybe you should Google that. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That woman, I watched this documentary with her recently, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I'm not the type of person to become emotional when I watch documentaries. I don't know if people are, but I certainly am not. And I remember I'm watching this and I'm crying, And my middle child, Serena, comes in the room and says, "Mommy, what is wrong?" Because my kids don't see me cry. Like, it's not that I don't cry. Sometimes I cry, but I do it in private. It's a private situation for me. And so she's looking at me, "What's wrong, Mommy?" And I'm like, "This woman has paved the way for women in the world. You don't know what this woman has done. What I have done is nothing compared to this woman. I feel like I'm failing in life. I need to do more and I need to do better." And my daughter realizes that I'm totally fine and just crying, and she left the room. So, I admire this woman so much, and what she says about, women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights. And she doesn't ask for favors from men. She just asks that they remove their, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like, remove their foot from our necks. I just adore her and everything she stands for. And it's not like, am I a feminist? Yes, but I'm not this raging feminist who believes that all men are horrible. I actually really like men a lot. However, I also like equal rights. And that's all I'm asking for. And this woman stands for that. And what she's done is like no other woman I can that I have seen do. So I admire her so much. Like, for her to be the only female lawyer, she went to Harvard and someone said to her, "Why are you here? You're taking the place of a man."
That never happened. That never happened. That was made up for. That never happened.
There's so many things this woman endured. I can't even. Other women would just like falter, but she just said, "No, I'm going to do this," and she kept going, and she keeps going.
Guess number 2, Jasmine.
Barack Obama.
Why Barack Obama? Just curious.
Okay, so many reasons. He's kind, he's intelligent, he thinks about things in such a calm manner and tries to address the situation. He tries to appease everybody and think in a way that politicians in the United States of America are refusing to think. He's thinking as what is in the best interest of the United States and the world, instead of just what is in the best interest of me and the United States, maybe. So I just admire him. And to be in a situation where, people are looking at you as someone who should not be in the White House because of your race, I can't imagine what it must feel like to get death threats, to worry about your family, all because of the color of your skin. I can't even imagine. I don't think any of us can really fully appreciate what that man must have gone through and probably continues to go through. He made history for so many people in the world. And I just admire so much about what him and his wife have done and their relationship. Oh my gosh, have you seen their Instagram? Their posts? It's incredible. I hope that, I get to do all the fun things that he's doing with his wife at that point in my life with my husband,
Nice. That's a good answer.
Yeah. Number 3, who do you think?
Is it another lawyer?
It's definitely another Democrat, though.
I don't know. Is Jennifer Lopez a Democrat?
Probably. Jennifer Lopez. Okay.
Jennifer Lopez. And the reason Jennifer Lopez is because that woman, 50 years old, she's looking so good. I want to know every single secret she has. Number 1. Number 2, I am so impressed with the empire that she has built and the fact that not only has she built this empire, but from an outsider looking in, she seems so grounded. And I love that. Jenny on the block, or Jenny from the block. It's Jenny from the block.
From
right?
the block.
I love that about her, and I hope that no matter how much success I achieve, I really hope that I stay grounded and remember where I came from and where my family came from.
I'd like to meet her just to ask her about the worst Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. That's why I'd like to meet her.
Well, who would that be? Because it wasn't her. She wouldn't know because hers was like the best. Oh my God, her hair. Oh, I keep telling everyone that's done my hair, I want J-Lo hair. How does she have that hair? How many extensions does that take?
Yeah. How old is she? She's 60, isn't she? Or 55?
50.
You just
50.
said 50.
Oh, she looks
50
fantastic.
and flawless and fabulous.
Looks fantastic, though.
Everything else. Oh my God, yeah.
That's amazing. That's
okay. Okay, this is a question that I like to ask a lot. David usually asks it, but we like to ask our guests about game-changing books. So any of them that have greatly influenced your life or that you're reading right now that you really like?
Okay, so in the past, To Kill a Mockingbird was a book I read in school. I think I was in grade 6 or 7 when we read that. And it was the first book that actually brought me to tears, and I couldn't stop turning the pages, and I couldn't believe that there was such injustice in the world. I'd been so naive until I read that book. I couldn't believe that people could be judged in that way and even convicted criminally because of the color of their skin, not because that was right. I just cannot believe that our system could be so unjust. So that really had a profound effect on me. And I think, maybe that was probably in my head about one of the reasons as to why I pursued law, wanting to, in my own way, create a better justice system, advocate for my clients, stand by my clients, and which I try to do to this day. So that book for sure, Gone with the Wind. Oh my gosh. I read that at a young age too. We had to study it, but admittedly, I didn't get through the whole book because it was really fat. And then I realized that there was a movie, and I watched the movie. And the movie I kept rewatching because the story, the history, learning about slavery, learning about the behavior of men and women, learning about love and learning about loss, and learning that I will never let my child ride a horse and race a horse. All of that. Like, I just loved that movie, and I love the main character in it. And I'm still to this day, years later, really upset that Rhett and Scarlett don't get back together. Like, I would like to see them back together. It still bothers me. Another book that resonated with me was Confessions of a Shopaholic, which you probably have not heard of, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, no, I've read it.
Oh, yeah, right? Have you? Yeah, okay. So Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella is chick lit, which is like a chick flick. Like, they say woman's genre. But I couldn't stop turning the pages of that book either because it was just so enjoyable. And I think I read that, I would say, in my late 20s. But it introduced me to women's fiction, chick lit, and I love those books. Now, admittedly, I don't have a lot of time to read those kind of books at this point in my life, but it did give me the idea of, wait a second, this is how I speak. This is Jasmine. This is my real voice. Why don't I take my Law Girls Bump in the Road journal, which actually didn't have a name. The name just came recently, the journal that I wrote when I was pregnant, when I was 25. And why don't I make that chick lit? And that's why that book, not only did I really enjoy the book, but I learned about chick lit from that book. And then I started trying to read more chick lits because I need to figure out how to turn my pages into a book. And so that book was really important. In terms of books I'm reading now, JD in the Kitchen. Lots of JD in the Kitchen cookbooks.
Oh, your own book. Okay.
That's basically what I spend my, I don't know if you call it spare time, but there's not a lot of time to do reading. And I do love reading. Every minute of every day is so solidly booked right now that I have not been reading anything but editing JD in the Kitchen cookbooks right now.
And you're going to want to hear what I have to say. But David, I'm going to put you on the spot. A recommendation this week. You haven't given us one for a while.
Book I'm reading currently is The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Ooh.
Yeah, the memoirs of Marcus Aurelius. Really deep stuff. you like it. The problem with that book is, you could think about one or two sentences for hours, Yeah, very deep book. Yeah, the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Okay. And I have go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go with your book recommendation.
No, I don't have a book recommendation.
Confessions of a Shopaholic, Corey.
I have the greatest book hack of all time. I get busy, you get busy. It's hard to read books. It's even hard to get it on Audible sometimes. So I have an 80-20 book hack technique that you can read a book and get everything in 5 minutes. No joke. So here's the catch. I'm not going to tell you. If you want that book hack, leave us a review on iTunes, snapshot it, screenshot it, send it to me, marketing@greaterpropertygroup.com. I will send you the book hack, and I'll give you one of these nice GPG hats. We'll send it to you in the mail.
Those hats are a collector's item. We get many requests for those hats. We got to send one to Jasmine. Okay, now Jasmine, final section here. It's not the final question, but it is the final kind of like where now you're going to have to you have to go into your subconscious for this one. This is one word associations. This isn't planned. I'm putting everyone on the spot here. You got to think of the first thing that comes to mind when I throw these three words out here. I did it with Corey once. Remember when we did that at the boot camp? We did that. I put you on the spot. Mm-hmm. One word association, Jasmine. Happiness.
Life.
Goals.
Crushing.
Ooh.
Dreams.
Inspiring.
Hey, not bad. Well done for the one word associations. That's fantastic. A couple new ones there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when all is said and done, Jasmine, what would you like to be known for? What's the Jasmine Daya legacy?
I want my legacy to be that as a female in Canada, if you persevere, you have the power to do anything because the sky is the limit. That's it. That's exactly what I want it to be.
That can go on a billboard. I think that fits on a billboard. Not like Corey's. What a fantastic conversation.
It was brilliant.
But honestly, Jasmine, really great getting to know you. It was fantastic conversation. I think a lot of our listeners and subscribers are going to take a lot away from this. I think you inspired a few people. It was really interesting to hear your story. I had a blast talking to you about this stuff.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Run GPG. We hope you discovered a ton of great information that's going to continue helping you build and scale your real estate career. Before you go, we have a gift for you. Each week, we create an episode companion that highlights all the key points we talked about today. It will help you remember the important points you discovered, and it includes those points you might have forgotten. Or for quick reference, you can check out our show notes. You can download this week's episode companion on our website at rungpg.com. We hope you're enjoying our content. If you are, we would greatly appreciate it if you gave us a review. Subscribe on your favorite podcast player and share this episode with a friend. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at marketing@greaterpropertygroup.com. We love hearing from you and helping our listeners make a success of their real estate career.